Can I sit here?
The
Of
7-year-old
course, please
girl
have a
didn't
seat.
start with a greeting. She didn't smile. She didn't even look confident enough to be there. She just stood beside the table, gripping the metal handles of her crutches so tightly her knuckles turned white, and asked in a voice barely louder than the hum of espresso machines, "Can I sit here?" The man didn't answer immediately. Not because he hadn't heard her. But because in that single second, something didn't make sense. Everything about her was wrong for this place. And everything about him made people stay away. The cafe sat on the corner of Hudson Yards, Manhattan, where glass towers scraped the sky and money moved faster than conversation. It wasn't the kind of place children wandered into alone. And definitely not children like her. She couldn't have been older than 10. Her dress, simple, pale blue, was too thin for the biting New York winter. Her dark curls were uneven, as if someone had cut them in a hurry or simply didn't care enough to finish. But it was her leg that made people look, and then quickly look away. A prosthetic. Cheap. Misaligned. Each step she took had a slight delay, a subtle drag that forced her body to compensate in ways it wasn't meant to. Pain, hidden behind discipline. But the cafe didn't respond with sympathy. It responded with silence. Tables that had been full moments ago suddenly felt closed. People glanced. Then returned to their phones. A woman near the window shifted her handbag closer. A man in a tailored coat pretended to take a call. No one said anything. But everyone said no. Except now, she stood in front of him. The man at the table finally looked up. He was in his early 40s, sharply dressed but without any of the loud signals of wealth. No logos. No unnecessary movement. Stillness. The kind that made people uneasy. His name was Adrian Kessler. Most people in that room didn't recognize him. But if they had, they wouldn't have ignored him. Because Adrian wasn't just wealthy. He was the kind of billionaire whose decisions quietly shaped markets, cities, and sometimes, people's lives. And yet, at this moment, he was just a man staring at a child who shouldn't have been alone. "Can I sit here?" she repeated. Her voice cracked this time. Not from weakness. From exhaustion. Adrian glanced at the empty chairs around him. Then back at her. And for reasons he couldn't yet explain, he pulled one out. "You can." That should have been the end of it. A simple act. A moment of kindness. Forgettable. But it wasn't. Because the second she sat down, everything began to unravel. She didn't relax. She didn't smile. She didn't even thank him. Instead, she scanned the room again. Fast. Precise. Like someone who wasn't afraid of being alone, but was afraid of being found. Adrian noticed. And that was his first mistake. Because once he noticed, he couldn't unsee it. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked calmly. She shook her head. Too quickly. A lie. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her crutches beside the chair. Adrian's gaze dropped, just for a moment. And that's when he saw it. Bruises. Not dramatic. Not obvious. But layered. Different stages. Different colors. And unmistakably, intentional. Something shifted inside him. Subtle. Controlled. But sharp. "What's your name?" he asked. There was a pause. A long one. As if answering required permission she didn't have. "Aria," she finally said. It wasn't the truth. Adrian knew that immediately. But he didn't push. Not yet. "Are you waiting for someone, Aria?" Another pause. This one heavier. "No." Across the cafe, a chair scraped loudly. Aria flinched. Not slightly. Not casually. Violently. Her entire body stiffened. Her eyes snapped toward the sound. And for a split second, fear took over her face completely. Adrian leaned back slowly. Processing. Recalculating. This wasn't a lost child. This wasn't coincidence. This was something else. Something wrong. You hungry? He asked. She hesitated. Then nodded once. Carefully. Like even admitting that could cost her something later. Adrian signaled the barista without looking away from her. Hot chocolate. Sandwich. Whatever she wants. Food arrived quickly. Too quickly. Because now the staff was watching. Not out of kindness. But curiosity. Arya didn't eat like a child. She ate like someone who didn't know when the next meal would come. Small bites. Measured. Controlled. Eyes always lifting between each one, checking. Watching. Making sure nothing changed. And then, it happened. A man entered the cafe. Late 30s. Well-dressed. Too well-dressed. The kind of polish that wasn't natural. It was constructed. Arya froze. Completely. Her hand stopped midair. Her breathing changed. Adrian didn't turn. He didn't need to. He felt it. Don't look, Arya whispered. That was the moment everything shifted. Why? Adrian asked quietly. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Now Adrian turned. Because he'll see slowly. Me. Carefully. The man scanned the room. Not casually. Not socially. Systematically. Predatory. Their eyes almost met. Almost. Then moved on. But not before Adrian saw something that made his chest go cold. Recognition. The man wasn't looking for someone. He was hunting. Who is he? Adrian asked. Arya didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because the next word she said changed everything. He's not supposed to find me before tonight. Silence. Adrian leaned forward slightly. His voice lower now. Sharper. What happens tonight? Arya's lips trembled. For the first time since she sat down, she looked like a child. I'm supposed to disappear. The world didn't stop. The cafe didn't freeze. People kept talking. Machines kept steaming. But at that table, reality shifted. Because Adrian Kessler suddenly understood something terrifying. This wasn't about abuse. This wasn't about neglect. This was about something far worse. And for reasons he didn't yet understand, he was now part of it. The man across the room turned again. This time slower. More deliberate. And this time, his eyes locked directly onto Arya. She stopped breathing. Adrian didn't move. Didn't react. Didn't break eye contact. But inside, everything sharpened. Because now he knew. Whatever was about to happen, wasn't going to stay inside this cafe. And the moment Arya chose his table, was the moment his life changed too. Before we continue the story, leave a comment and tell us where you're watching from and what time is it over there. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our interesting stories. The man's smile didn't fade. But something behind it did. Control. Just slightly. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But Adrian did. And that was enough. You're not supposed to be here, the man repeated. This time slower. More deliberate. Adrian didn't react outwardly. But inside, every calculation shifted. Because that sentence meant only one thing, this wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't random. And it definitely wasn't over. Arya sat frozen. Her eyes moved between the two men like she was watching something she didn't fully understand, but knew was dangerous. Very dangerous. Then maybe you should tell me where I'm supposed to be, Adrian replied calmly. The man exhaled through his nose. A quiet sound. Almost like disappointment. You don't even know, do you? He said. Adrian didn't answer. Because now he needed the man to talk. That's when Arya spoke again. Soft. But sharp enough to cut through everything. They said, if I found you, everything would stop. Silence. The man's eyes flicked toward her. Fast. Angry. Enough, he said under his breath. But it was too late. Adrian leaned forward slightly. Now fully engaged. Who said that? He asked. Arya hesitated. Then whispered, the people who took me. The cafe didn't hear it. But Adrian did. And that was all that mattered. Everything inside him locked into place. This wasn't just a child in danger. This was organized. Planned. Controlled. And now, personal. The man straightened. The calm mask returned. But it wasn't as stable as before. You're making a mistake, he said quietly to Adrian. No, Adrian replied. You already did. Another pause. This time, the man stepped back. Not retreating. Repositioning. You think you understand what this is? He asked. Adrian didn't blink. I think you're about to explain it, he said. The man smiled again. But now it carried something darker. No, he said. I think you're about to remember. And then, he walked away. Just like that. No force. No scene. No escalation. Because he didn't need it. That was the most dangerous part. Arya's breathing was uneven now. Fast. Shallow. He's not leaving, she whispered. Adrian watched the man disappear through the door. I know, he said. Because something else had just happened. Something subtle. But critical. The two men who entered earlier. They hadn't followed. They stayed. One near the counter. One by the back exit. The net was still in place. Adrian sat back down slowly. Arya, he said quietly. Look at me. She did. Barely. Everything you're about to say matters, he continued. No guessing. No hiding. No fear. Her lips trembled. They told me your name before I came, she said. They showed me your picture. Adrian's chest tightened. Why me? He asked. Arya shook her head. I don't know, but they said if I didn't find you. She stopped. What? Adrian pressed. Her voice broke. Someone else would disappear instead. Silence. And just like that, the stakes doubled. Adrian leaned back. Eyes scanning the room again. Rebuilding the situation. This wasn't about money. Not directly. This was leverage. And he had just been pulled into it. Listen to me carefully, he said. We're leaving. Arya's eyes widened. No, if we leave. They follow, Adrian finished. I know. He stood up. Calm. Measured. Stay close to me, he added. They moved. Not fast. Not slow. Controlled. Toward the side exit. The man near the counter noticed immediately. Of course he did. He shifted. Blocking the angle subtly. Adrian adjusted course. Back toward the main door. The second man moved. Trap confirmed. Arya's grip tightened around her crutches. They're not going to let us leave, she whispered. Adrian didn't respond. Because now, he wasn't thinking about leaving. He was thinking about breaking the system. And then, he did something no one expected. He stopped. Right in the center of the cafe. Turned. And spoke loudly. Someone call the police. Everything froze. Not everyone reacted. But enough did. Phones lifted. Eyes turned. The illusion broke. And the moment that happened, the control shifted. The two men hesitated. Just for a second. But that second was everything. Adrian grabbed Aria's hand. Now. They moved. Fast. Straight for the door. One of the men lunged. Too late. The door burst open. Cold air hit like a shockwave. And they were outside. Running. Not far. Not fast. But enough. Adrian's car sat across the street. Black. Unmarked. He opened the door. Got Aria inside. Locked it. The engine roared to life. And just like that, they were gone. For now. But this wasn't escape. This was escalation. Because inside the car, Aria said something that changed everything again. They know where you live. Adrian didn't react. Didn't slow. Didn't hesitate, but inside, the realization hit hard. This wasn't a random operation, this was deep, calculated, and it had been planned, long before today. Then we're not going there, he said. Where are we going? She asked. Adrian's grip tightened on the wheel. To the only place they won't expect. He paused. Somewhere I should have gone a long time ago. The car sped through Manhattan traffic, snow falling harder now, blurring lights, hiding movement. Behind them, a black SUV merged into traffic, following, and just like that, the chase began. The city moved around them like nothing had changed, taxis honking, pedestrians rushing, lights flickering through snowfall, but inside the car, everything was different. Aria kept looking back. They're still there, she whispered. Adrian checked the mirror. Yes, they were, and they weren't hiding it anymore. Good, that meant one thing, they were confident, too confident. Adrian made a sudden turn, sharp, unexpected, the SUV followed, second turn, third, still there, confirmed. Aria's voice shook. What are we going to do? Adrian didn't answer immediately, because the truth was complicated. I'm going to end this, he said finally. How? She asked. Adrian's eyes hardened by remembering why this started. Silence. Then, it hit him, not fully, not clearly, but enough. A memory. A deal. A decision, something he buried, ignored, justified, years ago. Aria, he said slowly, how long have they had you? 3 weeks, she answered. 3 weeks, that lined up perfectly. Adrian exhaled. They're not after money, he said. Aria looked confused. Then what? Adrian's voice dropped. Accountability. The word hung in the air, heavy, real, and for the first time, he understood. This wasn't random, this was revenge, for something he had done. Or worse, something he had allowed. The car slowed. They pulled into an underground parking structure, empty, quiet, isolated. The SUV followed. Of course it did. Adrian parked, turned off the engine. Silence. Aria looked at him, terrified. Why did we stop? She asked. Adrian turned to her. Because running doesn't end this. He opened the door, stepped out. The SUV doors opened. 3 men stepped out, including him, the one from the cafe. They approached slowly. Adrian didn't move. Aria stayed inside, frozen. You finally understand, the man said. Adrian nodded slightly. Yes, he replied. And you think this fixes it? The man asked. No, Adrian said. Another pause. Then why are you here? Adrian's answer was simple. Because she shouldn't pay for my mistake. Silence. The man studied him. Long carefully, then asked the question that mattered most. Do you even remember what you did? Adrian's jaw tightened. Yes. And for the first time, we see it, the truth. Years ago, a development deal, cheap land, fast profit. A building cleared, families displaced, complaints ignored. 1 incident. 1 accident. A child injured, covered up, settled, forgotten, except it wasn't, because someone remembered. And now, they wanted him to feel it. Her family? Adrian asked. The man nodded. Everything you built, he said, came from people like her losing everything. Aria stepped out of the car slowly, confused, scared. I don't understand, she said. The man looked at her. You weren't supposed to, he replied. Adrian stepped forward. Enough, he said. Silence. Then, he did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and placed it on the hood of the car. Everything, he said. Files, records, transfers, names. The men exchanged looks. You're just giving it up? One asked. Adrian nodded. Yes. Why? Adrian looked at Aria. Because she deserves a future more than I deserve protection. Silence. Long heavy, and then, something changed. The man stepped forward, picked up the phone, looked at Adrian, and for the first time, the anger faded, not gone, but shifted. You don't get forgiveness, he said. Adrian nodded, I know. Another pause, but she gets a chance, the man added. Adrian nodded again, yes. The man turned, signaled the others, they left, just like that. No violence, no chaos, because the real battle was never physical. It was moral, and Adrian had finally chosen correctly. Weeks later, Arya stood in a new home, safe, healing, and for the first time, smiling. Adrian sat quietly nearby, not as a savior, but as someone rebuilding something he had once broken, not for redemption, but for responsibility. And sometimes, that's enough, because not every miracle comes as rescue, some come as realization, and the courage to finally do something about it.